Ghana is building what could become one of the largest shopping malls on the entire African continent, and if you have driven along Spintex Road in Accra over the past few years, you have probably watched it rise out of the ground with your own eyes. This is the Ghana International Mall, sitting at the junction of Spintex Road and Agbalza-Mene Road, directly across from Casa Global Villas and the Mene police station. And the numbers behind this project are staggering enough that they deserve a closer look, along with a healthy dose of skepticism about what "biggest in Africa" actually means in practice. Before we begin, kindly subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet. Let's start with scale. The Ghana International Mall is being built on a total planning area of 100,000 square meters, with a total construction footprint of roughly 250,000 square meters once you combine the commercial space and the residential towers attached to it. Break that down and you get close to 100,000 square meters of pure commercial space, and about 150,000 square meters of high-end residential apartments sitting on top of and around it. For comparison, that commercial footprint alone is more than 3 times the size of West Hills Mall in Kasoa, which has held the title of Ghana's and West Africa's largest mall since it opened back in 2014 at 27,700 square meters. It is nearly 5 times the size of Accra Mall, the country's first fully enclosed shopping center, which opened in 2008 at just over 21,000 square meters. The vision on paper is genuinely ambitious. This is not meant to be just a shopping center. The plan includes retail space, entertainment, dining, sports facilities, business offices, a hotel and luxury residences, all combined into a single self-contained district. Developers have talked about parking for somewhere between 5,000 and 10,000 vehicles depending on which figures you look at, along with a swimming pool, a children's playground and other leisure amenities. The estimated cost that has circulated publicly is around $250 million, though as with many large-scale developments in West Africa, that figure has a way of shifting as construction timelines stretch. Now here is where the story gets interesting, and where I want to push back a little on the marketing language you will see plastered across social media. The most credible reporting on this project describes it as being positioned to become one of Africa's top 10 largest malls once fully completed, and developers themselves have suggested that once the residential component is finished, the total footprint could rank among the top 3 largest developments of its kind on the continent. That is a meaningfully different claim than simply saying Ghana is building the single largest mall in Africa outright. Africa already has retail giants like Mall of Africa in Johannesburg, Mall of Egypt in Cairo, and several enormous complexes across Morocco and Egypt that have been operating for years with proven foot traffic and tenant occupancy. Size on a construction blueprint is not the same as size in operation, and Ghana's own retail sector has a cautionary tale sitting right down the road. West Hills Mall, despite being the reigning West African record holder for over a decade, has actually struggled with vacancy in recent years after major tenants like the Foschini Group and Edgar's pulled out, forcing the mall to lean harder on local retailers to fill the gap. That tension is worth sitting with for a moment, because it points to a broader pattern in Ghana's retail expansion. Over the past decade, foreign capital, much of it Chinese, has poured into Ghana's malls, wholesale markets and retail chains. Chinese business registrations in Ghana's trading sector have surged since the mid-2000s, and shopping centers explicitly marketed toward pan-African consumer bases, with amenities like Kent-inspired design elements woven into otherwise foreign-built structures, have become part of that trend. This has sparked a real debate inside Ghana. Some see it as exactly the kind of large-scale investment the country needs to create construction jobs, retail jobs, and modern commercial infrastructure in a growing economy. Others see it as another example of foreign capital capturing the most valuable parts of Ghana's consumer market, leaving local retailers and market women who have anchored Ghana's informal economy for generations struggling to compete against subsidized imports and internationally financed real estate. It is also worth putting the price tag in perspective against the size of Ghana's economy. Ghana's gross domestic product sits in the range of $80 to $90 billion depending on the year and the exchange rate used. $250 million mall complex is not going to move that macroeconomic needle on its own, but it is a meaningful single project investment, roughly comparable in scale to some of the mid-sized infrastructure projects the government has pursued directly, like sections of the Accra to Kumasi Expressway upgrade. The real economic impact will come less from the construction spend itself and more from what happens after opening day. Does it generate sustained retail jobs? Does it pull in Ghanaian-owned brands alongside the international anchors? Does the surrounding Spintex corridor, which has already seen road dualization projects specifically built to serve traffic heading to the mall, actually benefit from increased commercial activity? Or does it simply shift shoppers away from Accra Mall and other existing centers a few kilometers away? There is also the simple matter of timeline. This project has been described as nearing completion for several years now, with social media videos and update channels tracking its progress since at least 2021. Large-scale construction projects across West Africa have a well-documented tendency to slip well past their announced completion dates, and Ghana International Mall appears to be no exception. As of the most recent updates, construction continues and firm opening dates remain elusive. So where does that leave us? Ghana is undeniably building something enormous, a mixed-use commercial and residential complex that, if completed as planned, would dwarf every existing shopping center in the country and rank among the largest developments of its kind on the continent. Whether it becomes the single largest mall in Africa outright is a claim that deserves more scrutiny than the headlines suggest, and whether it becomes a genuine economic engine for the Spintex corridor or simply the newest chapter in a familiar story of foreign capital reshaping Ghana's retail landscape is a question that will only be answered once the doors actually open and the tenants move in. If you found this breakdown useful, make sure you are subscribed to the channel, because we are going to keep tracking this project as it moves toward completion, along with the other major infrastructure and economic stories shaping Ghana, Burkina Faso, and the wider Sahel region.